everyone. Today I wanted to do a video that shows some foundational exercises. Those are the deadlifts, squats, a push, and a pull exercise. And this is kind of a precursor to you moving on to using heavy weights when performing these exercises. So this video will be great for people who are new to exercise, beginners, or those that have kind of developed poor technique over time and want to kind of take it back a little bit to come back to the fundamentals. Before we go into any of the exercises, we're just going to work on a foundational base. So this is kind of the position that all these exercises are going to come from. I want you to set yourself up with your feet solid on the floor. You can lift your toes, and this is good to be barefoot for these ones as we're learning them. Lift the toes, spread them wide. Feel the point of the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. We talk about that as a tripod of support. As you press a little bit into the outside of the feet, you can feel your arches lift. So this is especially important for people that tend to pronate or have flat feet. It is a muscle action that lifts the arches, so you can practice this and you may be able to get a bit of that arch happening over time. Okay, so we have our feet. As far as our ankles, there's a little bit of a notch here. And so if you look at your ankle, you want each notch on either side of the ankle to be even. So try to get the foot into that position. Okay. All right, we got our base. And then I want you to feel like you're dialing the heels into the floor. So it's a bit of a torque action created, knees pressing out slightly. Okay, so we've activated the outside of the legs, inner thigh, ankle. This is good base. Now, as far as the rest of the posture, and this is always different for depending on your anatomy, but to give you an idea of a neutral position is you want the hip bones and pubic bones to be roughly on the same plane. So again, everybody's kind of structured different, but I want you to kind of get to this position where you're not here, pubic bone in front of the hip bone, and you're not here, pubic bone behind the hip bone. So kind of set yourself up nicely there. And then we're going to think of sitting the ribs directly on top of the pelvis. So some of us tend to extend a bit more or too much. You want to slide your ribs back. You want to sit them on top of your pelvis. And then the rest of the body, we just want an open position through your chest. It helps to open the palms, which opens up the front of the chest. And this is kind of our set point. Also, you want to make sure, for a lot of us, if we work on computers or text, our chin's pulled forward, so you want to retract the chin, lengthen the back of your neck as well. So this is a setup for all the exercises. The first exercise I'm going to show you is a hip hinge, also known as a deadlift. And so this is really important to learn. We're learning to move our pelvis, tip our pelvis, and keep alignment through the upper body and a solid base. And then eventually these moves progress into using weights, into raising the weights and deadlifts. So it's a good fundamental foundation exercise. All right, so going back to how we set up at the beginning, we want to create a little dialing of the heel into the floor, a little torquing of the knees. I'm going to show you first, because this is a foundation, we're going to do it with our hips to the wall and heels a little bit out. So again, depending on your structure, you may have to take the heels a little more forward, but you don't want them so far forward that you're in a bent kind of squat position. So we're here. For the hip hinge I'm going to show you, I want you to unlock your knees. As soon as you do that, you're going to get more glute activation. Our arms are just going to be in parallel position. I want you to roll the shoulders back. I'm going to show you first what we're going to do, and then we can talk about how you do it. So you're going to take an inhale as you lower here, and then we're going to press up, back to standing. Okay, so what's going on? Set yourself up, heels solid, dialed in. Good way to start is take the hands to the hips. Keep open through the upper body. You always want to keep this alignment, and we're going to start to move the hip bones forward and down, and the tailbone will feel like it's sliding up the wall. So we're going as far as we can, and if you start to feel you're rounding here, then we've lost the foundation of the move, so I just want you to stop there. And that's how far you're gonna go today. And we'll come back up. So possibly you're limited by tight hamstrings, glutes, a lack of core strength, or your pelvis is really tight and stuck. So we're just gonna go wherever we can go, how low we can go with keeping the hips connected, keeping your spine long, not rounding your upper back, and then come back up. So for the breath, we're gonna inhale. You can keep the hands to the hips, or you can kind of progress now to arms extended. You're gonna inhale as you lower. Breathe right all the way into the hips. Keep the spine long, lengthen. And then you're gonna exhale, push into the floor, strongly into the heels, hug the belly to the back. Spine is long as you come up. Let's do it one more time. Keep open through the chest. Imagine you have a bar across the chest, so as you come forward, your shoulders couldn't possibly round forward. Set it up. Let's inhale, hinge, long spine, and exhale, push strongly into your feet. Take it all the way up. Great. Okay, so why do we want to know these foundations? We want to be able to activate the muscles properly. We want to be able to protect the back whenever we're hinging. So not that it's always going to happen, but if you are starting to round here and you add weight, you are creating a lot of compression in the vertebrae and could possibly over time cause injury. It's different than if you're just stretching, rolling down your spine. We have no real hard weight that we're resisting. So that's a gentler move, and that's good for creating some mobility. But as soon as we add a lot of weight, we want to keep the spine neutral. It keeps the space between the vertebrae, and it's a safer way to build strength and mobility. So the next exercise I wanted to show you is the squat. Now the squat, the controversial squat. There's many ways to do the squat, and there's also several ways that are correct, depending what your goal is. So I'm going to show you the way I do it and the reasons why I want you to do it like this or practice some squats like this. So we're going to start with our feet hip width apart or wider. Feet, toes forward or slightly turned out. Okay, so how you determine where you want to be is you want to be able to lower. If you feel any discomfort in the lower back, then maybe you go a little wider. Maybe you open up the toes slightly. We don't want fully turned out and we don't want dropping in, but there's a little bit of play depending on your anatomy of where you place the feet. And that is because we have, our pelvises have different structure to them, both between a female pelvis, a wider pelvis, and a male pelvis, but also within the sexes as well. You also may have a deeper socket for your femur, so that'll allow you different positionings that feel correct. So again, there's a little flexibility with this. You can play and see what allows you to come deeper, the kind of the deepest and lowest to the floor with the best form. Feet here. Again, we're gonna dial it in. Spread your toes, press the knees out slightly. This is a really nice position to have your knee in to protect the ligaments. Our arms, we'll take them wide and open. And we're just gonna, again, keep open through the chest. I'll show you on different angles. So we're gonna inhale coming down. Okay, so let's focus on, we're gonna start to sit back. Your knees, if you are tall, your knees may come in front of your toes, but it's all about bringing the hips far enough back to counterbalance that. So we're lowering, lowering, lowering. It's hard to say. As low as you can go here. And then to come up, we're gonna press, take it up, watch your knees don't drop in, keep pushing them kind of up and lift up here. Okay, so give you from the side, set up the feet, knees push out slightly, watch your knot. I tend to do the thoracic extension, so I have to correct myself, keep this positioning. There's that hinge that we learned is happening with the deadlift. As we lower, we inhale here. Keep the chin retracted. Go as low as is comfortable. Push into the floor. Bring yourself up again. Good. So yeah, just watch as you lower. As we're going down, take a check at the knees. Are you transferring more weight onto one side? Is one coming out more than the other? You want that equal position, solid position here. You want to watch that, a good way to do this, that your ribs aren't coming away from your hips, because usually you're doing too much of this extension, or too much arch in your lower spine. So this is from Kelly Starlett. He places hand on the belly, hand on the lower ribs, and as we lower down, we make sure we maintain the same distance, which means we're keeping our spine in neutral position. If the hands come away from each other, we're doing too much arching. And if they come towards each other, we're rounding too much. So this is a good way to practice the squat. The third move I wanted to show you is a pull move. We're gonna do a rowing position. And once again, you're gonna notice we've learned our hinge. This is kind of the base for this one we're gonna do. Okay, so here we go. Spread the toes, dial in the heels, push the knees slightly out. Set your pelvis, make sure you're not tucked, arched, neutral. We're gonna start with our arms here, and then from here, so this is kind of coming into with a waiter's bow position, we're hinging. Okay, push solidly into the feet, and then release your arms. So watch, we can use that cue again of the bar across the chest so the shoulders don't round forward like that. We set up, take an inhale, fill your ribs wide, lengthen from crown of the head to tailbone, and here's our row. We're just gonna start with, I'll start shoulders, elbows, and then release the elbows, shoulders. So I'm breaking it down a bit. So you want to be able to draw shoulders away from the ears and back, and then use the bend in the elbow. Like that, and then release it. So watch, sometimes people just lift their elbows and they don't open up the shoulders, and over time this can cause issues with the front of the shoulder joint. We're doing this. Lengthen, pull. Bring it back down. Really use that breath, inhale to prepare, exhale, pull, and back down. Watch your knees coming in, keep that base, pull, and then back. You can even feel like you're actually holding onto a band, and pull now, squeeze, and then bring it back, release. So for a lot of us, we need much more work for the back of the body than the front. We tend to do a lot for our front of our body. We move forward a lot. We use those muscles a lot, and the ones at the back get neglected. So the row is very important. And even in your own workouts, when you're doing upper body workout. For most of us, we need to do more back than front. So it's like you do 2 sets of the back and 1 of the front to balance off those muscles. So the last move I'm going to show you is a pushing move. We're going to do a push-up on the wall. So for those of you that are new, we're just kind of getting the mechanics, the fundamental. So the last move I'm going to show you is a push move. We're going to do a push-up. We're going to do it against the wall for beginners. And we'll just get the fundamental mechanics down because, again, this is a common move and eventually you're going to add weights. It's a functional move. We need to press up to get out of bed and many other things during the day. So let's come over to the wall. Once again, I'm in the heels dialed in, knees pushing out, solid foundation. I need to take my hands, it's about, for what we're doing, thumbs at chest level and a bit wider. We're just gonna have the elbows wide and slightly down. This is one of those moves too, you can vary depending what muscle you're working, but we're gonna start with this type of foundation. Okay, so we're here, and then I want you to walk back from the wall. So you can come off the heels, a bit more of a challenge. Like we were dialing the heels into the wall, we're now kind of going to try to dial the palms, wrists into the wall to create torque and to get the muscles activated. Okay, so watch you're not dipping or rounding. We're going to be in a nice long plank-like position. Inhale, and then as you exhale, you're going to come down towards the wall and you're going to push away. So inhale down and exhale to push away. Good. Inhale. Widen through the chest, broaden through your collarbones. Exhale, push away, hug the belly to the back. Once more. So as I'm doing this one, I'm still kind of trying to slightly press my knees out, activate the hips. So you get, it's not just upper body, it's full body work, it's core work. So those are the foundations. I hope that helped. You want to practice these and you really want to get your technique and form down before you move on to adding resistance. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.